Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday night with the Hill Alumni. So tonight we have a special guest, Claire Evans from '06. She is back with us. So thank you, Claire, again for coming back. She is doing a special class for us. We are going to be doing a yoga class tonight. So she is a yoga instructor and is going to lead some movements that can help us physically, mentally, and spiritually. So we're really looking forward to this. Hopefully you guys can view this on your own time, take a break from your crazy day or your crazy life and just relax and focus on some you time. So Claire, I'm going to turn it over to you and then we'll open it up for any questions or anything at the end. All right.
All right. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here again. It's such an honor and it's so special. So about a little less than a year ago, last December, I came on and did a little yoga demonstration and kind of talked about my path to yoga and the 8-limbed path of yoga. And so this evening, I'm going to talk a little bit about self-care, everyone's favorite buzzword this time of year, and specifically how a couple of concepts, body neutrality and anatomical uniqueness, have really helped me and informed my relationship in taking care of myself. So I'm going to talk for maybe like 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll move for like maybe like 30, 35 minutes. So if you're watching this later and you would really love to just skip to the movement, skip to the movement. I totally understand. So yeah, before I get into that, I aim to be as trauma informed as possible. So I want to say up front that I'm going to be talking about some body image stuff, and I'm going to be talking about pregnancy. And if those two things are things you don't want to hear about, feel free to skip ahead 15 minutes if you're watching this later. I take no offense. And similarly, the practice will be accessible from either a yoga mat. I have my mat set up behind me with a couple of pillows, maybe, and everything will also be accessible sitting in a chair. So I'm going to show everything both ways, and everything's beginner friendly and prenatal friendly. And I'd also like to take a moment to do a land acknowledgement, to acknowledge that I'm currently on unceded Lenape land, as is the Hill School, as I'm in Philadelphia, and they're right on the borderlands of those lands. This information comes from nativeland.ca, and especially in light of the recent holiday of Indigenous Peoples Day, I think it's really great to kind of go on there and learn a little bit about whose land you're on. Similarly, would like to take a moment to thank my many yoga teachers who have guided me in my yoga journey, and the countless teachers from India and other regions of Asia and Africa who brought this practice forward through time and space, so that we can gather this evening and share it together. All right, all that out of the way, self-care. As we begin to tiptoe towards the end of the year and our calendars get more full, more and more demands on our time, it can be easy to let go of all of the self-care rituals we have to feed ourselves, nourish ourselves spiritually, mentally, as well as physically, which is like so counterintuitive, because I know that like the busier that I get, the more that I really want that self-soothing. And I'll only speak for myself, but I know that when I start to feel pulled in a lot of different directions, and I have less time for movement, for rest, for all of my routines, I start to get really down on myself. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I spent a lot of time, like I've really kind of been on a roller coaster in terms of body image. I spent a lot of time in like mid 2020 focusing on new ways that I could take care of myself, new forms of exercise, which really brought me a lot of mental clarity and new ways to address food. And I really felt like I dealt with a lot of stuff that I've been carrying with me, like since like way before even my Hill years, like way before being a teenager. And I felt like I was in a really good place, and I healed a lot of old wounds. And then I got pregnant, and that kind of like threw a lot of stuff out the window really quickly. It turned out there was a whole lot of new stuff and old stuff to deal with. My body was no longer something that was like under my control. It was, whereas before it had been kind of like a domesticated pet that I'd made peace with, and now it was like a wild animal that I had to live with, its own desires, its own needs. I'm extremely lucky, extremely privileged to be pregnant, to have chosen pregnancy, to have stayed pregnant. I have good health care, and I have a wealth of other supportive advantages I wanted this. I signed up for it. I'm really excited to meet my kid next year. Sometimes it sucks. It really sucks sometimes. It's really uncomfortable. It's made me feel really sick. And it took away my desire and my capacity for exercise, and it took away my appetite. And food and movement were kind of like the two big tent poles of my self-care regimen. They were like the two ways that I got through every day. And so I had to relearn all over again how to take care of myself in prep for caring for like a whole new person, about which is still very wild to me. I'm about halfway through my pregnancy, so that's the fact that there's still a child at the end of this is still like crazy to me to think of. The two concepts have really helped me in my reframing of my attitude towards self-care: body neutrality and anatomical uniqueness. And body neutrality, I'll just a brief overview, is a response to the body positivity movement. There's nothing wrong with trying to love your body and be really positive about your body with all of its flaws and imperfections, as well as its strengths. But sometimes it's really hard. Maybe there are parts of your physical body that you wish were different. Maybe you're dealing with a chronic or an acute illness or a disability that makes it really hard for you to appreciate your physical form. Maybe you feel really disconnected from that physical form for any variety of reasons. Maybe you, like literally millions of us, have found that this pandemic has been really difficult for your mental health, and that's made it really hard for you to love and care for yourself. Body neutrality takes these and a host of full other perspectives into account and suggests that maybe we don't have to be wildly in love with our physical selves to practice self-care, and that instead we can meet ourselves where we are with grace and compassion and appreciate what's here. Maybe you used to be a marathon runner and like now you really struggle with walking around the block, but you can still like give yourself a high five for walking around the block. Like maybe you used to be a really inventive, healthy cook, and now, you know, your mental resources are running low and your energy is running low and you're depending on a lot of like convenience foods to get through the day. You can still pat yourself on the back for showing up to nourish your body. Treating myself with kindness, even in moments when I don't feel like the best version of me, is the most challenging yoga practice I've ever undertaken. And it's also been the most worthwhile. Another aspect of my new self-care regimen now is appreciating my anatomical uniqueness, which is a concept that I first came across in Bernie Clark's work when I was studying yin yoga. It suggests that our bodies are different. We have different limb lengths. We're right-handed, we're left-handed. We have different flexibility, different strength level, different body size. And therefore we might need different versions of yoga shapes or different props to support us in our practice. So this is like a really simple and straightforward concept that completely blew my mind. Like, you mean I can allow myself to listen to my body and what it needs in a yoga or a movement class and not just muscle myself through an action or into a shape just because I've done it once before? So I have to do it forever and only ever do the hardest version of something forever. Like, that was wild to me. So much of hustle culture that we live in says, you know, you always got to be striving to outdo yourself and that you're your own competition and you got to break your own ceiling every day. And sometimes the best thing for our bodies and our minds is a gentler shape, a gentler movement practice, something that feels more restorative and more restful, maybe even just rest itself. Your balance of what's right for you is something that only you know, and you have the wisdom to decide. So bringing this back to yoga wisdom before we start to move, I'd like to briefly discuss a model of approaching our bodies light in all the different ways we can care for ourselves. It's the kosha model. Kosha means sheath in Sanskrit, and this approach has one body. We have 5 bodies, and they're all made of energies ranging from the most obvious and tangible at the surface, deeper within, to what you might think of as your essence, your spirit, or your soul. So it's a little abstract, but my belief is that when we think of ourselves as more than just flesh, we can think of ourselves instead as complex systems in need of a lot of different kinds of care to get through a day, a life, a busy holiday season. and we can broaden our approach. So I'm going to use this Russian nesting doll to stand in for all of our different models. So you'll see here, this one says food, because the first body is, the first sheet is the Anandamaya kosha, or the food body. So this is our physical self. This is our skin and our muscles and our bones, all the stuff that you can like actively touch on yourself is your Anandamaya kosha. I think it's a good reminder that like even though we're still greater than our physical bodies, we need to care for this outer body that keeps everything else intact. And so there are practices to support this body, include like all of the sensory pleasures, right? Like physical movement and exercise, eating well, eating foods that nourish you in whatever way that means to you. And even like gentle touch, like self-massage, that stuff that grounds us in our physical selves. So then moving one sheath in is the second sheath. This is energy. And this is the pranamaya kosha, or the energy sheath. This is the self that keeps all of our energy flowing between all of our bodies and reminds us like we're not to be too stuck in one place. Like we're creatures that crave movement and change just as much as stillness and rest. And we need to honor those two dichotomous desires at the same time. So ways to support the energy body include breath practices. Pranayama is a breath practice in yoga. Even just taking like deep, smooth, mindful breaths, relaxing your jaw, letting yourself kind of like let out big sighs and stuff like that. That's all great for pranayama, pranamaya kosha. So one further in. So now we're kind of getting more subtle here. We move deeper with it. This is our mind, our manomaya kosha, our mind sheet. So this is our everyday mind, our thoughts, our judgments, our emotions. This is like really the processing body that filters our experiences from the outer two bodies, which are more physical, into the inner two bodies, which are more subtle, maybe even more spiritual. And honoring your thoughts and feelings as valid and important, not dismissing them out of hand, is a good way to support this body. So is rest, proper sleep, allowing us to process the events of the day in our subconscious as well as our conscious mind. Two more little dolls. Moving further deeper inside, this one says wisdom. This is the Vijnanamaya kosha, the discernment or knowledge sheet, or my personal favorite definition. And all of these are just what I've learned in my practice from my teachers. There are lots of different interpretations of these bodies that you can absolutely read up on your own. But my personal favorite translation of this is wisdom. So it's a level deeper of the mind than the manomaya kosha. So manomaya kosha, the everyday mind, is our thoughts and reactions, so all the stuff that happens to us in a day. Then our vijnanamaya kosha is our thoughts about and our reactions to those thoughts and reactions. So like think about a time when you had like an unkind thought about somebody. And so you had the thought, and then maybe there was like a second voice in your head that was like, that wasn't nice. Or, oh, I shouldn't judge. Like everyone's going through stuff. Like that second voice is Vijnanamaya kosha. That's kind of a good way to think about the difference between, it's like the thought that you have and then the thought that comes after the thought. Those two different things. So ways to honor this body are like spending time with yourself. Sometimes it looks like meditation, journaling, even just reflecting on your goals, your hopes, your wishes, your dreams, your intuition about your life. Like thinking about your thoughts can feel like putting a hat on a hat, but just like anything else, practice helps and can bring us more in tune with what we really need. So the final deepest sheath and the tiniest doll is our bliss body, the Anandamaya kosha. So some yogaism says that this is the hardest sheath for us to access, especially us in our modern world in the West. But I think it's just the one that we reach for the least. Like think of the last time that you laughed so hard that you lost your breath. That's bliss body. Little kids running around on the playground and like screaming. That's bliss body. People who are practicing their craft, like even you see a ballet dancer perform, or a cellist in an orchestra playing, like those people are all in their bliss body. There's a lot of ways to support this body, right? To find your own bliss body. Ways that you can indulge in creative other endeavors that just bring you joy. Reading a good book, sitting with someone you love, maybe even not talking that much, just being with them. Like making a batch of cookies, or like a really intense cooking project, or another craft project. Anything that like you're fully present, and like doing emails and getting work done does not count. Something that's just for you and just for your bliss. And something you could really enjoy the process and really like lose yourself in. And when you're in your bliss body, all of the sheaths, all of the different yous are all stacked up, one on top of the other, all together. And like you're fully you, like not just one piece or another piece. You can be fully present in the moment. So with all of these sheaths together, we can really feel nourished. Our physical body, our breath, our minds, our hearts, our spirit. And some days you might feel like you need a little bit of support in one place more than the other. Sometimes it might feel easier to access the stuff that's more on the surface level. And that's okay, because all that stuff supports all the other stuff too. Just like, talking to a friend makes you feel better physically, laughing makes you breathe deeply. Taking a spin class helps you connect to your goals. Like all this stuff can line up together and make you feel whole. Like what's good for the goose is good for the gander kind of thing. And only you have the experience of being you, of knowing what you really need. And the better that we get at listening to all of the different parts of ourselves, the better that we can be at asking for what we need from ourselves and from the people around us, from our communities. So that's my spiel. Now we'll get to movement. We're going to feed our physical and our breath bodies now, and hopefully a little filter down through the rest of our bodies as well. And we'll take some gentle movements. So we'll begin in a comfortable seat. Maybe that's in a chair, maybe that's on the ground. Take a moment to clear some space. If you'd like to use a yoga mat or sit on the floor, maybe you might like a pillow or two. I won't really cue for anything more than that, so no worries if you don't have any yoga stuff at home. Right on your bed, right on your couch is perfectly fine. So as you find your comfortable seat, whatever that means to you, start to find a long spine. Start to stack yourself over yourself, the crown of the head, over the ears over the shoulders over the heart over the guts over the hips. Maybe leaning side to side, front and back. Really feel that you're centered. You might start to find a place where it feels like maybe you're a little bit able to breathe a little deeper. And as you start to breathe, maybe your gaze gets soft. Maybe your eyes even close. Start to scan through the physical bodies. Notice everything that's here, everything that you brought to sit in this chair at the end of this particular day. All the good stuff, all the bad stuff too. And it doesn't all have to be bad stuff. There can be good stuff that happens today. There can be good stuff that you're carrying with you. Not all baggage is bad. Like when you go on vacation and you have bags with you, like that's still baggage. But it's good. It's positive. So just let yourself be honest about everything you have. You only ever have to name it to yourself. It only ever has to be true to you. This might be a time to set an intention for this next maybe 30 minutes of movement. And intention can be subtle or grand. And again, you only ever have to say it to yourself. And if you'd like one and you don't have one, you're always welcome to borrow mine. I wish to grow. We'll take just 2 or 3 more breaths here. As you inhale, really expand the ribs, breathing in 3 dimensions here, swelling the belly, breathing into the front, the back, feeling the spine get taller, like the crown of the head could reach a little bit closer to the ceiling of the room you're in. As you exhale, feel all that expansion pulling back to midline, everything coming closer, belly button pulling to spine, your whole body settling a little more into your seat. Keep breathing like that in and out, soft sighs, always welcome here as you settle into your rhythm, not my voice, the rhythm that's right for you. As we start to move in earnest, a reminder that I trust you in your physical experience of yourself. And if there's ever a shape that you would not like to do, you don't have to do it. If something doesn't feel good, you can stop at any time. Similarly, if there's something I don't cue, but that you love, if you have a yoga practice and you would really like, even just a certain kind of stretch that you know that you're really craving, please go ahead. Take one more big inhale in. Take one more big exhale out. Gently blink eyes open, come back to the room, come back to the space. And we'll start super simply with some neck rolls and shoulder rolls. So let the chin fall to the chest. And then like you're dragging your chin along your right collarbone, it doesn't actually have to touch, it's just intending there. Start to lift your head over to the right till you're looking to the right. And then from here you have 2 options. One is to simply lift the head through center over to the left. The other is to maybe gently drop the head back, opening up the front of the throat as you carry the chin over to the left shoulder. And then drag the chin along the left collarbone through center. And we'll take those circles twice more, your pace, your inhale, your exhale. And if you find a place, an in-between place that feels good to pause, feel free to pause. Or keep moving in and out. Keep breathing. Last big circle this direction. And the next time the chin comes through center, pause. Take a breath in the center. Notice anything that's shifted or changed. And then we'll take this second direction. So this time your chin skims along the left clavicle. Again, it doesn't actually have to touch, just intending there. Look to the left. And same options as before. Chin through center, or maybe gently dropping the head back as you lift the chin over to the right. Feel free to do what you did first side or do something different if that's what calls you to be here. Honoring your body, your own anatomical differences, your uniqueness from left to right. Last big circle this direction. Next time the chin comes through center, pause and lift the head through center. And we'll just take some big shoulder circles. So on an inhale, lift the shoulders all the way up to the ears. Exhale, slide them down and back. These are all like great midday stretches to do if you sit at a desk, or if like me, you hold your phone too much. No judgment, only subtweeting myself. Inhale to lift up, exhale like you're sliding your shoulder blades into your back pocket. Just one more that way. Inhale it. Exhale down. I'm gonna move back a little bit so you can see a little bit more what you're doing. If you're in a chair, you can stay in a chair. This is my baby. If you're on the floor, you can stay on the floor. We're gonna take some really dynamic side stretches. So we're gonna begin by moving our spine in all 6 directions. So we'll start with these 2 of leaning back and forth. So we'll start with both hands down on your lap, or maybe touching the ground gently if you're on the ground, or if you have arms on your chair, you can touch those. And on an inhale, lift your right arm up. And then plug your right arm into its socket so you're not lifting all the way up like, hey, plug in. Big breath in. Exhale, lean over to the left and pay attention to what the right hip is doing. Make sure the right hip stays down. Next inhale lifts you up through center. Exhale, right hand comes down. Inhale, left arm lift. Exhale, plug it into the socket. Inhale for length through the whole torso. Exhale, lean up and over to the right. And so now you can take these stretches gently and pause here, and then we'll take the first side again, or you can move dynamically. So inhale to lift up both arms. Exhale, lean up and over to the left with your right arm. Inhale, both arms lift. Exhale, right arm down, left arm reaches. And find your rhythm. Might feel kind of like a dance with yourself here. Linking breath and movement here. You can even close your eyes. Don't worry too much about what it looks like. Don't worry about if your pace is different than mine. That makes sense. We're different people. Inhale, lift. Exhale, stretch. We'll go twice more each side. Inhale, lift. Exhale, stretch. Last two breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, lift. Last one. Exhale, stretch. Inhale, up through center, both arms up. Maybe your gaze lifts up. Exhale, both hands down. Head through center. So in between, if you'd like to nod your head yes, shake it no, shrug your shoulders, maybe so. Feel free, anything that feels like clearing. So that's two of the 6 ways we can move our spine. We'll move on to the next two, flexion and extension. So we're going to take cat and cow. You can do these seated. If you're familiar with them and you would love to do them in all fours, feel free to do so if you're familiar with those options. But if not, stay seated with me. Hands come onto the thighs or onto the knees. Step your feet a little bit further apart so that you really feel grounded through the feet. They're not like super close together. Maybe that's hips width distance. Maybe that's a little wider. Make room for the front of your body. On an inhale, press down into your thighs or into your knees to lift the heart up. Shoulders are on the back of the body. Maybe the gaze lifts up. Exhale, press down and away with your hands as your belly button curls towards your spine and you look down between your obliques. Keep moving like this. Inhale to lift the heart. Cow pose. Exhale to curl the spine into a C shape. Cat pose. You have, let's say, 4 more rounds just like this. Inhaling to lift the heart. Exhaling to feel the back of the heart pressing to the wall behind you. Moving your way, moving a little faster, adding a little bit of a roll into the hips feels good. Let this feel natural and organic. Let it feel like you. Take a big inhale and a big exhale. One more just like that, breathing in and breathing out. Inhale to bring yourself through center. So that's 4 ways that we've moved our spine now. And yeah, same options apply for clearing. Nod, shake, shrug shoulders, shake, rattle, roll, anything that needs to be shaken or rattled or rolled. So now we'll take the final 2 directions that our spine can move, and we'll take a really gentle twist. So if you are on the floor, this looks exactly the same as you're in the chair. I will offer two options here. One option is if you have a person inside of you, and the other option is that if you don't. And but if you don't, the option that if you do might feel nice anyway. It's just a little bit of extra support for the body. So if you do have a person inside of you, like I do, I'll show that first. Wrap your left arm in front of your belly. And this is just a way to remind the belly button to stay forward. We're going to keep this twist in the upper back. And then your right hand, if you're sitting in a chair, can reach behind you and hold any part of the chair you can touch, the side, the back, the arm, whatever. Roll your right shoulder up and on your back and gently twist the upper back. If you're doing this without the belly support, it looks mostly the same. Maybe that left hand stays on the left thigh as you twist and gently look over the right shoulder. Maybe that left hand creeps across to the inner or outer right thigh. And maybe there's a little bit more action in your twist if you have a little less action in your low belly. There's no right or wrong here. There's just the amount of twist that feels good to you. Maybe over time as you breathe here on your inhale, feel your spine get long. On your exhale, maybe there's a little bit more twist. Maybe that twist shows up in the upper back. Maybe it shows up in your shoulders sliding a little bit more into the back of the body. Maybe your gaze creeps a little bit further back. Maybe just your eyes creep a little bit further back. Maybe the depth that you feel is simply in your breath. 3 more rounds of your breath in this twist. Inhale. Exhale. Keep moving your way. Inhale. And out. Last full breath in. Stay for the breath out. Inhale through center, unwind. And then maybe those shoulder rolls, maybe nodding or shaking or rolling up the neck. Maybe a couple more rounds of seated, cat-cow, or maybe you'd like to come forward onto hands and knees, cat-cow. And then we'll move our spine in the 6th and final way, beginning the same way. So either right hand comes across to left thigh or stays on right thigh as you begin to gently turn your body to the left. Left hand can come to the ground or hold onto your chair anywhere. Or maybe that right hand swoops across, supporting the belly, reminding the belly button to stay forward as this upper twist. This twist stays in the upper back. And the gaze can stay forward, like your gaze can track with your belly button. Your gaze can track with your right hand, or maybe your gaze keeps tracking with your left hand if that's okay on your neck. Both shoulders stay down out of the ears. And again, find your option, your variation, your movement this side. Might be different from the first side, might be different from a little twist you took earlier or one that you took yesterday. Remind yourself that that is okay. A-okay. Your thoughts start to drift away to your to-do list or to anything else, like maybe if you're going to have a snack after this or the snack that you had before this, it's okay. Just call your thoughts back. Let them be right here with your body and your mind and your breath. All here together, all of the parts of you. Just having an experience. 2 more breaths. Big inhale. Big exhale. Last one. Inhale in. Stay for the outhale. Inhale brings you through center. Shake, rattle, roll. And a reminder that the biggest liar on planet Earth is a fitness instructor when they say 2 more breaths. That means that they've lost count. So we're going to move from here to a forward fold. So I'm going to cue this standing, but if you would love to stay seated, you can stay seated. A seated forward fold on the ground. You're just going to bring your legs out in front of you. Or in a chair, you'll just walk your feet out in front of you. And then you'll bend the knees as much as you need to and fold forward, mirroring belly to butt, letting your head drip down. Or make your way to a standing position. Oh, good, you can still see all of me. And find that your feet are hips width distance roughly apart. And the outer edges of your feet are more or less parallel. Your toes are facing more or less straight ahead. Big inhale. Big exhale. Lead with the heart. Fold yourself forward. Bend your knees as much as you need to. If you have your chair or your couch or whatever it is nearby, the back of the chair or the seat of the chair might offer a nice place to bring your hands. You can bend your elbows. That just lifts the ground closer to you. If your hands come all the way to the mat, more power to you. If you have yoga blocks, number 10 cans, tissue boxes, anything to help the ground feel a little closer, let it feel closer. We'll take 2 more breaths here in forward fold. Big inhale. Big exhale. Last one in. Last one out. Next big breath in. Climb your hands onto your shins, onto your thighs, onto the seat or the back of your chair so that you can grow your spine long. Crown of the head pressing straight ahead. Ardha Uttanasana, flat back. Half forward fold, horizon pose. Take another breath in. Exhale, fold. We'll do that twice more. On an inhale, flatten your palms against something. Roll your shoulders onto your back. Press through strong arms to lift the crown of your head straight ahead, flat back. Big breath in. Exhale, fold. Last time. Hands press against something. Roll shoulders onto the back of the body. Belly pulls to spine. Weight begins to creep forward to the balls of the feet. Stay in your lift. Float your hands into your hip creases. Point your elbows a little bit more at the ceiling above you. Bend your knees a little more. Press the tops of your thighs back. Feel how that straightens the legs. Press down through the heels and the toes. Stand up slowly using your hamstrings. If you're sitting in a chair, just slowly bring yourself to sit all the way up. And then from here, from your standing position or from your seated position, we're going to take some hip circles. So standing up, that just means hands on hips. Pretend you're doing the hula. Pretend you have a big hula hoop. If you're sitting in a chair, it's a little similar. You're going to do something kind of different with your legs. You're going to bring your legs a little wider, and then you'll lean your body around. And this can be slow and gentle. It can be a little faster. We're going to go like maybe 3 or 4 more breaths this direction. And then we'll take a second direction, whether you're standing or whether you're sitting. And it's okay if this feels a little silly. Close your eyes, let it be joyful. Think about being on the playground. Think about hula hooping in gym class. Think about if you were born in the 80s like me, did you have a skip it? Did you like almost break your ankle on your skip it like 100 times? I love my skip it so much. And this motion kind of reminds me of that. Another inhale. Big exhale. Second direction. We're not going to go too much longer. Just maybe 5 breaths. And if you've already alternating directions, continue to alternate directions. Do what's right for you. We're just kind of juicing up the hips here. We'll take a thigh stretch, And then some standing poses and some hip opening shapes. And then we'll rest. That's all. We're already doing it all together. You're already doing the yoga. You did the yoga just by showing. Last inhale. Last exhale. Bring yourself to center. If you're in your chair, walk your feet a little closer together. So we're going to take a leg stretch here. If you're sitting in your chair, this is going to be more of a hamstring stretch. If you're standing up, it's going to be more of a thigh stretch. Front of the leg versus back of the leg. Both are great places to stretch. So don't worry about you're missing out on one or the other. You can always in your own time choose to do the other one. So I'll show seated first because I'm seated. This is a asymmetrical shape, so we're going to do the right side. Then we're going to do the left side. And as always, please feel free to change and make any alterations as you switch them. You're just going to step your right foot forward, heel down, toes up. Long spine, lift up. Gentle bend in this right knee. We're not locking out the joints. You want to feel a little bit of buoyancy in that leg. Big breath in. Exhale, lean your heart forward to any degree. And your right hand can come anywhere along that right leg. If you reach your toes, awesome. If you don't, equal shot at enlightenment. So no worries. You could do this standing up as well, of course. I'll offer a different variation standing. But you'll just pause here. And if you're in this stretch, stay there and breathe. And if you're standing, feel free to have a chair or a wall nearby for balance. You're going to just pick your right foot up. Weight goes into the left leg so that your knee roughly meets your knee. This is just a thigh stretch here. So reach your right hand back, thumb up like you're giving a thumbs up, like you're receiving a baton. And then see what you can grab. Maybe it's your pant leg. Maybe it's your heel. Maybe it's the inside of your foot. If thumb down feels better to grab any of those places, you can also use a stretchy band or a scarf or a sweatshirt sleeve, anything, a tie for a robe to catch your foot. And then we're not going to bend forward here at all. We're going to kick, 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 foot in a hand. And then think about scoop, 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 your tailbone between your knees like you could smack yourself in the face with your own pelvis. And the more that you kick, 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 and the more that you scoop, 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 the more stretch you might feel through your right hip flexor, front of your right thigh. There might even be a stretch here for the right side of the chest, right shoulder. Whether you're stretching your hamstring or you're stretching your quad, take 3 more breaths. Take a big inhale. Take a big exhale. 1 more big breath in. 1 more big breath out. Gently release anything you're holding. Bring yourself to stand or sit tall. Bend both knees, plant both feet. If you're sitting in your chair, set both feet back down on the ground if you're standing up. This time I'll show the standing version. It's just a different stretch for the different part of the body, so choose what you might like today. Maybe you do this another time, you pick the other one. More weight into the right foot. Always okay to bring the right hand onto something. Maybe you have your chair or a wall nearby for a little extra balance. Lift up the left foot. Left hand goes back, thumb up like you're receiving the baton. Grab what you grab. Maybe it's the inside of your foot. Maybe it's your pant leg. Maybe you grab a belt or a scarf. And then once more, kick, 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 hand in the foot. Kick, kick, kick. Scoop, scoop, scoop your tailbone between your knees until you feel that stretch in the front of the thigh. And wherever you feel it, you're doing it. If you'd like to stretch your hamstring instead, once more, you'll step left foot forward, heel down, toes up. Bring a little bit more activity into the foot by like spreading the toes or thinking about spreading the toes if spreading the toes doesn't always feel super active to you. Gentle bend in that left knee. That might mean stepping the left foot a little closer to you. Full extension might lock out the knee. Big inhale. Exhale, fold forward, leading with your heart. And instead of thinking about getting your heart onto your knee, think about if your heart could extend so far forward that it would go past your toes. If you're standing up, you're still kicking foot in the hand. You have 3 more breaths. And if you feel any compression in the front of the body as you fold forward here, you can always walk that right foot further to the right. Make a little bit more space for your body. Last 2 breaths, inhale in and out. One more big breath in. One more big breath out. Bring yourself back to center. And for our next 2 shapes, they look almost exactly the same, whether you'll be standing or seating. You're going to start either standing up with a wide straddle or sitting in your chair with a wide straddle. So just bring the knees a little bit wider. And then this is warrior 2, if you're familiar with it. Your right leg is going to step all the way forward so that your right toes are facing off to the right, and your left leg is going to extend behind you. Both butt bones, the right part of your butt and the left side of your butt, are both supported by the chair here. So if you need to kind of scoot yourself forward, scoot yourself forward. If you're fully supported, you're even in the pelvis, and hands can stay at the hips, or maybe you extend the arms long. Shoulders out of the ears, down the back of the body, right inner knee right over the middle toe. And if you choose to do this standing, it looks basically the same. You're just not sitting down. Wherever you are, you just have, let's say, 3 more breaths. Take a big inhale. Take a big exhale. 1 more in and out. And for our transition here, very easy. Left hand comes to left hip. Right forearm comes onto right thigh. Just lean forward, turning your belly button open to the long side of the mat for side angle pose, either supported or standing. And just breathe here. Think about opening the heart. If you would love to lift the left arm straight up to the sky, or maybe palm face down over the ear, of course you have those options. Who am I to tell you now? Think about that big side extension stretch we took at the beginning of our time together. Maybe feel some of that here. Long from the blade edge of the left foot all the way up to the left middle finger. Big inhale. Big exhale. Inhale up through center. Turn all of your toes to face forward. And just very simply, we're going to take those 2 shapes second side. This time, the left foot steps wide. I find it easiest to kind of scoot to the edge of my chair to do that. Step your right foot back. And it's okay if the right foot doesn't want to step all the way back. Maybe the right foot just stays forward so you have kind of like an L shape in your thigh. That's okay too. That can be a seated warrior shape as well. Hands at the hips. Feel your long spine, feel your stack. Or maybe the hands are straight and strong away. Settle the shoulders out of the ears. Sliding the shoulder blades down into your invisible back pockets. Or maybe the clothing that you're wearing actually has back pockets. What a luxury. 2 more breaths. Big inhale. Big exhale. Gaze can be forward or over those left fingertips. Last full breath in. As you exhale, lean forward. Bring your left forearm onto your left thigh. Press down to bring a little bit more space between the left ear and the left shoulder. Right hand can come to the hip, or maybe up, straight up to the sky, or palm face down over the ear. The choice is yours. Return to your strong, steady, stable breath. Big breath in. Big breath out. 2 more. Inhale in. Inhale out. Next breath lifts you up through center. Start to settle your knees towards each other. And then I'll invite everyone to come back to a seated position, either on the ground or in a chair. Come a little bit closer to you for this. We're going to take one little hip opening shape, and then we'll rest. On your inhale, lift your right ankle up and cross it over your left thigh, figure four. Great pose if you sit a lot, if you drive a lot, if you're a runner, if you're alive in like 2021 or whatever year it is. Gets into the inner hip, gets into the glute hamstring connection. And if the foot all the way up in the lap is too much, extend. Said I was getting closer, I'm immediately moving back. Extend the left leg long and just cross the right ankle anywhere over that left leg. It doesn't have to be all the way up in the lap. You can also do this sitting down with your legs out in front of you, leaning some weight back into your hands for support, or you can take the shape lying on your back. If you love pigeon pose and you prefer to take pigeon laying forward, feel free. I'm not going to cue that today. If you love that, you know how to get there. We'll just take another 2 breaths here in. Oh, yeah. Your breath, your way. Next big breath in. Last full breath out, uncross your legs. And just like waggle your knees from side to side. Maybe the waggle travels up the body and it becomes a shoulder roll, a nod, a shake, a cat, a cow. Anything that feels good. Very simply, second side, lift the left leg up, cross the ankle over the right knee, the right shin, the right ankle of the right extended leg. There's no right or wrong way to do this pose or any of these shapes or any movement. It's just the right version for you. There's obviously, I'm not going to say obviously. I think that there are a lot of wrong ways to do shapes. There are ways that cause us pain or injury, ways that make us not feel like we're being kind to ourselves. But outside of that, I think there are lots and lots and lots of right ways to do these shapes. And if the version that you're taking looks nothing like the version I'm taking, then I trust you to know what it is that you need. No hierarchy here. Nothing we're working towards. Always just aiming to take the best version of the shape for you on this day. One of my first online yoga teachers, Leslie Fightmaster, used to say that we should always endeavor to practice in the body that we have right now. Not the one we had yesterday or the one we hope we have tomorrow, but this body today. This body is worthy. This body showed up and you're here with it. So do what's right for you. Another breath in. Bring both feet back to the floor. If there is any final shape that you are craving, any little stretch, any little wiggle or waggle that would make this feel complete, feel free to do so. And if not, make your way to a comfortable seat. Maybe a comfortable seat feels like sitting up in your chair or couch, on the ground. Maybe you'd like to lay down. Anywhere you can be comfortably for another 2 minutes. Start to scan through the body just like we did when we began. A big breath in. A big breath out. Feeling any places where tension has crept in for you. Letting all those places go. Breathing more space there. Maybe the eyes closed. Letting the hands rest. Letting the body be still from the crown of the head all the way down to the soles of the feet. Now, as you rest here just a little longer, I'd like to read you something. Feel free to tune me in and listen or tune me out and rest. This is a poem by Lucille Clifton called I Am Not Done Yet. As possible as yeast, as imminent as bread, a collection of safe habits, a collection of cares, less certain than I seem, more certain than I was, a changed changer. I continue to continue. What I have been most of my lives is where I'm going. Receive a longer breath in. Let it lead you back to your body like coming home and turning on those lights. Make any small movements, fingers, toes, ankles, wrists to bring life back to the body. Wiggling your eyebrows, wiggling your jaw. If you've laid down or moved away from your comfortable seat, make your way back to there. Finding a long spine as you arrive, stacking crown of the head over the ears, ears over the shoulders, shoulders over the heart, heart over the guts, guts over the hips. Gather your hands in front of your heart in any gesture that speaks to you of gratitude. Bow chin to chest, thank yourself for showing up for yourself. Sending out that same wave of gratitude to our greater community, which is so in need of it. And as you bow to yourself, know that it is to you that I humbly bow. Thank you so much for allowing me to serve you this evening. It is my pleasure, my privilege, my absolute joy. To you, I bow. Thank you so much.